This is crazy. The WNBA dominoes continue to fall. They continue to fall.
The WNBA world just got rocked, and not by a game-winning buzzer beater. This time, it's front office chaos making headlines. The New York Liberty, one of the most star-studded teams in the league, just cut ties with their iconic coach Sandy Brondello out of the blue. No warning, no hints, just gone. The move blindsided players, fans, and even rival franchises. But here's the crazy twist. What looks like a disaster for New York could secretly be the golden ticket for Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Imagine pairing the most dynamic rookie in modern basketball with one of the sharpest coaching minds in WNBA history. The thought alone has fans flooding comment sections with one demand: get Sandy to Indiana, now.
I just saw this news and I went, what the bleep? Literally, audibly out of my mouth, what the F?
Because here's the truth. Sandy Brondello isn't just another name on a coaching resume, she's a proven architect of champions. The kind of coach who doesn't just win games, but builds dynasties brick by brick. Her system elevates shooters, empowers playmakers, and turns good teams into contenders almost overnight. Fans are already saying out loud what Fever ownership is probably too scared to admit. If you want Caitlin Clark to rise from being just a phenomenon into being untouchable, the face of the league, the undisputed GOAT in the making, then you need Sandy steering the ship. And the more you look at it, the more it feels less like a dream hire and more like an obvious necessity.
Sandy Brondello, who is a two-time WNBA championship head coach, the coach of the New York Liberty, formerly of the New York Liberty, has been fired.
And yet, this is exactly where the conspiracy whispers begin. The louder the calls for a Caitlin-Sandy partnership get, the more it feels like the WNBA machine will never allow it. Think about it. The league thrives on control, on crafting narratives that keep stars boxed into storylines they can manage. Clark is already bigger than the system. They can barely contain her spotlight as it is. Add Brondello to the mix. That's two unstoppable forces united, too powerful, too unpredictable, and so the chatter grows. Is this why the Liberty pushed her out? Was this move about more than just a playoff loss? Was it really about keeping her away from the one player who could unleash her full potential?
I think the Indiana Fever need to take a look at this. I think, look, it's not too late to fix the mistake.
First, let's rewind. The Liberty didn't crash out of the season like some broken-down team with no fight. They were brilliant all year long, arguably one of the most dominant squads in the league. Breanna Stewart played like the MVP she is, Sabrina Ionescu's shooting was electric, and Jonquel Jones bullied defenders in the paint. But then came the playoffs, the bright lights, the high pressure, and a tough Phoenix Mercury team waiting for them. Suddenly, everything looked fragile. Shots stopped falling, rotations looked tight, and the Liberty found themselves slipping at the worst possible time. In an instant, their title run was over. No parades, no confetti, just silence.
Her tenure included bringing the franchise its first WNBA title and becoming the winningest coach in the Liberty's 29-year history, with a regular season record of 107-53. You're talking about an established.
And to make matters worse, their downfall wasn't about laziness or lack of talent. It was about bodies breaking down. Stewart, Sabrina, and Jones were all battling injuries, pushing through pain just to stay on the floor. Stewart even dropped 30 points in the deciding game, hobbling and grimacing, but still fighting tooth and nail to keep the dream alive. That kind of grit usually earns respect. And it did, but sometimes heart just isn't enough. Against Phoenix, every mistake was magnified. Every missed shot felt fatal, and eventually even Warriors run out of gas. The Liberty's season ended not with shame, but with heartbreak, and everyone assumed they'd reload and come back next year, stronger and healthier with the same leader guiding them.
Sandy Brondello is out on the market. We got a shark out on the market. This is wild news. Sandy Brondello has been fired by the New York Liberty in shocking fashion.
Which is why the twist hit even harder. After the loss, the players didn't distance themselves from Sandy Brondello. They didn't whisper doubts or shift blame. No, they stood behind her with full confidence. Stewie, Sabrina, Jonquel, all of them made it clear they wanted their coach back. They called her steady. They called her brilliant. They called her the glue that had held them together through injuries and adversity. Clips of players praising Brondello went viral across social media, fans retweeting and commenting, "Run it back. Keep the band together." Everything pointed to stability, to loyalty, to a team ready to chase redemption with their coach leading the charge. Nobody, literally nobody, expected what happened next.
We're not going to be a team that points fingers. You know, there's a lot of us that could have done better this season, but we're still going to fight and show up for each other every single day, and I think that's what's the most important part. So we have Sandy's back.
But then came the curveball that shocked the entire league. Less than 24 hours after those post-game interviews where Liberty players were praising their coach, the front office blindsided everyone. A press release dropped quietly, almost like they hoped no one would notice, announcing that Sandy Brondello's contract would not be renewed. Just like that, the architect of their turnaround, the leader who had guided them through championship highs and injury lows, was gone. No farewell tour, no celebration of her success, just a cold corporate decision that felt like betrayal. Fans didn't even have time to process the playoff loss before they were hit with this gut punch.
We can fix a lot of things that were messed up in the past offseason. Let's fix it. Let's not be stubborn. Let's fix it. Let's go get Sandy Brondello.
And when the news broke, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Analysts on TV shredded the Liberty's front office, calling it a panic move. Social media lit up with disbelief. Fans flooded timelines with comments like, "You've got to be kidding me," and "This is the dumbest decision in franchise history." Even rival players were chiming in, shaking their heads, saying they couldn't believe the Liberty would cut ties with one of the most respected coaches in the game. Some even suggested the team's general manager should be the one packing their bags, not Brondello. It wasn't just outrage, it was shockwaves, rippling far beyond New York.
And I don't know if there's going to be some drama that we're going to find out about. I don't know what's going on. I can tell you what I'm thinking immediately. It's a clear upgrade. It's a clear upgrade.
Sure, the WNBA is full of surprises. Trades, upsets, and drama are part of the package. But this felt different. This wasn't a bold gamble. It was a self-inflicted wound. The Liberty didn't just lose a coach, they lost their identity, their anchor, the one person who had proven she could take them all the way. For fans, it was like watching the franchise throw away their best chance at dynasty-level dominance. And that's why people are already calling it one of the worst decisions in Liberty history. A decision that may not just haunt New York, but reshape the entire league.
Sabrina Ionescu team up with Caitlin Clark. Sandy Brondello, new coach in the Indiana Fever. This will feed family.
So why is this decision being dragged through the mud by literally everyone? Because once you step back and look at the full scope of Sandy Brondello's career, it's obvious the Liberty just threw away pure gold. We're not talking about a mid-tier coach here. We're talking about a woman with rings, with international credibility, with a resume that screams elite. Year after year, she's proven she can take broken rosters, tired legs, and impossible matchups and still squeeze out results. She isn't just respected, she's revered. And that's why fans and analysts are all shouting the same word right now: insanity. Let's rewind for a moment and trace her path in New York. She arrived in 2022, walked into a team still trying to figure itself out, and immediately punched their ticket to the playoffs. That alone would have been enough to earn some patience. But Sandy wasn't satisfied. By 2023, she had built them into a juggernaut. 32 wins, only 8 losses, a finals appearance. No championship that year, but the writing was on the wall. The Liberty were back on the map. And then came 2024, the crown jewel. A grueling 5-game series against the Minnesota Lynx, an overtime thriller in the decisive matchup. And finally, the Liberty's very first championship banner raised to the rafters. It was history, carved into stone by Sandy Brondello's hand.
This is nuts, folks. This is crazy. Liberty fire head coach Sandy Brondello just 1 year after winning the WNBA championship.
And even after all of that, 2025 was the year that tested her the most. Injuries stacked up like dominoes. Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquel Jones. Every star seemed to be banged up at the worst possible time. Most coaches would have folded under that weight. Not Sandy. She still dragged them into the playoffs, still had them fighting until the very end, and still earned the respect of her locker room. That's why her players were standing shoulder to shoulder with her in post-game interviews. They weren't just showing loyalty. They knew they had a leader worth fighting for. And that's what makes the front office's decision sting even more.
What would you say to those who question whether Sandy should be here next year to coach you guys again? I'm not saying I question it. There's just some people that do.
I mean, to anybody that kind of questions Sandy being here, like, this is a resilient group, and she has our back and we have hers. And the way that she continued to kind of, I don't know, deal with the cards she was dealt, like, was incredible. It wasn't easy for anybody, but she came in every day with a positive attitude and a mindset to put us in our best positions possible.
Here's the stat that stops everyone in their tracks. Across just 4 seasons with New York, Sandy Brondello racked up 107 wins against 53 losses. That's not solid, that's dynasty-level consistency. Coaches dream about numbers like that. Franchises beg for numbers like that. And yet, the Liberty looked at one of the most impressive records in the league and said, "Thanks, but we're done." No wonder the headlines read like obituaries. This wasn't just a coaching change, it was the kind of self-inflicted wound that echoes for years. But here's where the story really flips on its head. While Liberty fans were mourning, another fan base suddenly perked up, the Indiana Fever. Because the moment Sandy became available, the internet lit up with one bold idea: ditch Stephanie White, bring in Brondello. To many, it wasn't just wishful thinking, it felt like destiny. And you know what? For a team fighting to build around the most marketable star in the sport, it's the kind of move that could change everything.
Somebody, by the way, that adores Caitlin Clark. Just, we all remember the New York Liberty, Sandy, Sabrina, Brianna, Caitlin Clark's agent, all standing around conversating earlier this year.
All you need to do is scroll through social media to see the proof. Thousands of comments flood every thread. Hire Sandy now. She's the one who can unlock Clark. White is holding this team back. Fans accuse White of playing favorites, benching Caitlin Clark at critical moments, and leaning on assistants to bail her out. They're convinced much of the Fever's success has come despite her, not because of her. The louder you listen, the clearer it gets. This isn't a whisper campaign. This is a chorus, demanding change, demanding Sandy. And let's be honest, this entire conversation really comes down to one name: Caitlin Clark. She's the league's golden ticket, the player every franchise wishes they had, and the one who already moves numbers like nobody else. Fans don't just want Sandy Brondello in Indiana for fun. They want her there because they believe she's the one coach who can turn Caitlin from a record-breaking rookie into the face of a dynasty. The idea of pairing those two isn't just exciting, it feels like the kind of partnership that could rewrite WNBA history. If you think fans are just guessing about this chemistry, go back to the 2025 All-Star break. In one of the wildest moments of the weekend, Caitlin Clark actually traded for Sandy Brondello to coach her squad. That's unheard of. A player moving chess pieces to get her coach. But Clark wanted Sandy by her side. And when she got her, the bond was immediate, even while sidelined with a groin injury. Caitlin wasn't stuck on the bench. Sandy made her an honorary assistant coach. Clark was drawing plays, giving feedback, acting like a floor general from the sideline. And Sandy? She hyped her every step of the way, even telling reporters, "I'd let Caitlin coach as much as she wants." That wasn't coach talk, that was trust.
I don't care, bro. Let Stephanie White go to Seattle, take Kelsey Mitchell with her if she want, and they can play with Erica Wheeler, and they can play the style they want to play. You know what I'm saying? I want Sandy Brondello.
And that trust didn't go unnoticed. Fans saw it live, and the internet went into overdrive. Posts and clips were everywhere. This is the duo we need in Indiana. White could never give Caitlin that freedom. Even Fever diehards who had been skeptical about coaching changes suddenly flipped, saying the chemistry was undeniable. And they weren't wrong. Caitlin thrives when she's allowed to lead, to improvise, to use her instincts. Sandy Brondello's style is built on empowerment, letting stars breathe, not boxing them in. Together they looked like puzzle pieces snapping perfectly into place. And that's why so many people believe this isn't just a fantasy, it's the solution Indiana desperately needs. But here's where the fairy tale turns dark, because not everyone wants this pairing to happen. Talk to fans online and you'll hear the same theory again and again. The league itself doesn't want Caitlin Clark teaming up with Sandy Brondello. And when you start connecting the dots, it doesn't sound crazy at all. Remember, Sandy openly embraced Caitlin at the All-Star game, letting her coach, praising her leadership, and treating her like the superstar she already is. A few months later, suddenly she's gone, fired after a playoff run that any other franchise would have called a success. People are asking if this is really about basketball, or about keeping Caitlin boxed into a system that limits her shine.
I think we need to make a move to get Sandy Brondello to the Indiana Fever, man. I think this is Sandy Brondello with Caitlin Clark. This is the closest thing we would get to Lisa Bluter style.
And that's the painful irony. The one coach who actually unleashes Caitlin's full potential is suddenly removed from the board, just as the Fever are desperate for leadership. Sandy is the coach who lets Caitlin be Caitlin, fiery, creative, instinctive. Yet the decision makers in this league seem more interested in control than growth. Fans see it. Analysts see it. Everyone sees it. The only question left is whether the WNBA will ever allow the partnership that could truly change everything. Caitlin Clark with Sandy Brondello at her side. Because if they don't, this league risks holding back its own future. What do you think? Should Indiana make the move and grab Sandy now? Or will the powers that be find a way to keep this dream duo apart? Drop your thoughts below.